Hey everybody, how's it going? I thought we could get together and do another session of diagramming a photograph. So I thought before we do the diagram, we could go into, we can check out this photograph. This is the picture I will be diagramming. And then I thought we could go through some of the photographs and my approach and what my thought process was. So I'm using the EOS 5D Mark IV as my video camera, and then we've got the EOS R above, so we could show the diagram of the photographs. So I'm teaching a live lighting class this Saturday. Let me pull that up. It's going to be at Unique Photo. Grab it on the desktop. So here you go, Unique Photo. So it's going to be a live lighting demo sponsored by Westcott. You can register for free. That's this Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central Time. So we're going to do a live shoot demo and my approach to using the new FJ400 strobes. One of the cool things I love about them is that they speak Canon RT. So now I can combine my Speedlites and a strobe. So let's dig into a recent engagement session. Let me pull that up. And we could go through these photographs. And here we go, Photo Mechanic. So we're going to pull up Photo Mechanic. Oh, there it is down at the bottom of the screen. Sorry about that. Okay, so here is a recent engagement shoot. So this was all captured with the EOS R5 and Speedlites. And all of these photographs are lit. You'll see we have duplicates in here because Dawn likes to offer our clients the option of both black and white and color. And remember, if you have any questions, please drop them into the feed. I'll get to those questions. Let me, in fact, pull the question palette over so I could see those as we're going live. Let's see, where's the questions? Here we go, questions. Good. Fred, thanks for joining, I appreciate it. Michael, thanks for joining. Dawn, thanks for joining. So if you guys have any questions, just pop in. But here's a Photo Mechanic. And what we've got going on here is I've tagged things in red, so we could jump right into some of my favorite photographs and discuss what's going on here. Lighting is key. Off-camera flash is key. You know, this was a nice day. It was late afternoon, fall day. We did have some of those gray, smoky skies from the California wildfires. So in order to bring that sparkle back, I used Speedlites. So these are Canon 600EX RTs. And because the light was so gray and flat, I put anywhere from a quarter to a full CTO gel on there. And then I've been shooting in Kelvin white balance around 5,500 to 6,000 degrees Kelvin. So let's start off. The couple wanted to meet at a brewery, microbrewery in Chicago. They both are beer enthusiasts. They had their first date here, so why not go here? So really, you might say, why do we need to light this photograph, right? There was plenty of light coming in, but the reason why I lit this, now this is 3 Speedlites acting as one, because when you group them all together, again, this is where the FJ400 could have been nice, but I only brought Speedlites with, is it gives me more output. So each Speedlight is roughly 60 watt-seconds of light, so the 3 of them together is about 180 watt-seconds of light. It gives me ETTL, it gives me high-speed sync, all those sets of things. And I used the Westcott Halo umbrella because it's enclosed in the back, so all the light that might bounce off the shoot-through umbrella and be lost is harnessed and still forced to go out the front. The backing of that umbrella is silver, so that light still goes forward. So the reason I chose to light it is because I wanted to balance the outside light to the inside light. Now again, it all depends on your style and your look. Some people could say, oh, well, we could have just exposed for the couple, but then the entire background would have been bright white and ethereal and blown out. There'd be no city detail. Nothing wrong with that, right? It's like cooking. What's your flavor? What's your taste? You know, while I do love natural light, Dawn, on the other hand, on the back end of this, loves lighting because it makes her job easier. You know, you could have shot this available light, then gone into this area and gone in and processed it and used a filter and a brush and yada, yada, yada. So why not just light it and get it done? So I didn't have to be in high-speed sync land because I usually start off, let me start there. My go-to point is 200 ISO, 200th of a second, which is the top sync speed for the EOS R5, and around 556. I'll take a frame without the flash, see how the ambient light looks, and then I add the flash in. Now, normally, I don't blend the light perfectly, meaning flash exposure is equal to ambient light exposure. That still gives you kind of flat light. I like to separate that. So I usually underexpose the ambient light by minimum of 1 stop, oftentimes 2 stops, and that creates that depth of light in the photograph where your light that you're bringing pops the subject off the foreground and lets the background fade away. So let me check the questions here. If anybody has any questions, drop them into the feed and I'll hit them up. So we'll continue on with this. And the histogram, this is really crucial too. So the histogram is a representative of the JPEG preview that you get. So this is the same information you see on the back of the camera you see in your editing software. So none of my highlights are spiking up because they would be pushing up the right side. There's a lot more shadow information because the interior was a dark ceiling, dark floors, very dark. And you could see I had the umbrella right off camera right. So it's just bathing them with light, but at enough of an angle that I didn't get flashback on this painted wall. You could see the spotlight that they had on their logo is giving some reflection back. The umbrella is very forgiving that way because it's a large light source and you could feather it to the side. So the umbrella wasn't pointed straight at the subject. If you look at the center shaft of the umbrella, it was kind of pointing straight to the side. So we're spilling and feathering that light. Hey Bev, what's going on? You want to learn a little bit about lighting? My mother-in-law Bev is online. Hey, let me check. I think the audio's okay. The levels look good. Just want to make sure we've got good, clean audio, nothing peaking. If I could get a thumbs up on audio, everything's sounding good. Jackie Armstrong, thanks. Marlon, did I need permission to shoot with the halo in here? Yes, we did. So the couple wanted to go to this microbrewery, and I always suggest that they call ahead of time, and usually there is no problem getting permission. This was during COVID, you know, of course, this was just September 14th. I had a mask on. Of course, they're engaged. They didn't need a mask, and the place had just opened, so we had it to ourselves. And we did that purposefully. We asked them when would be the least amount of traffic because we don't want to be disruptive to their business. Jim DePerma, good afternoon. Thanks, I appreciate it. Michael Jordan, thanks for joining. So same setup here. The shoot-through umbrella, 3 of them acting as one, gives me quicker recycle time. They're all in the same group. In this instance, they were all in group A, in the umbrella. Sometimes I'll even, using the Westcott triple threat, make the top flash group A and the 2 side flashes group B, and we could feather the fall off so that the light falls off down here, but it was nice and even. Here when we went outside, I'm dealing with brighter ambient light, and I don't want the Speedlites to really have to struggle. This is where a strobe would come in handy, such as the FJ400. You could tune in Saturday and you could see how I would be using that. So in this case, I used the 3 Speedlights with no diffusion, just a bare flash head, but the 3 of them together create a larger light source so that we could do high-speed sync. You can see by the metadata, I'm still 200 ISO. My aperture is still 5.6, but in order to get detail in the sky, I had to raise my shutter speed to 6/40th of a second. So if you could keep this in mind, this is a real simple rule to follow. ISO is how sensitive your camera is to light. Also determines how hard your strobes or speedlights have to work. Makes sense, right? Then I choose my aperture. Aperture is equal to the flash output, how much that light has to work to give you a flash output. So, hence 5, 6, not 8, 11, 16. Because once we get into high-speed sync, those speedlights are pulsating to keep up with the shutter. So it diminishes on your flash output. So 5, 5, 6 is a good sweet spot for high-speed sync. Bare flash, really nice complementary light. I'm not looking for it to be overly lit, but you can see zooming in here, we have nice highlights, good flesh tones, right? And I truly am lighting for her first. So the strobe is over now camera left to illuminate her face, and you can see the shadowing on his face, so you could tell where that light is coming from. So I don't want to create any heavy shadows on our female subjects. So we light for the girls and let the guys fall off. Quickly, using the 24 to 105, zoom in, just get a nice little detail shot. The engagement ring helps tell the story. Black and white, right? As I shared before, Dawn likes to provide both color and black and white in our galleries for our couples. Looks great. So then I wanted to get some motion shot. I don't want everything to be a static portrait. So again, I took 2 speedlights now, 2 acting as 1 on a light stand off camera right. I had a 3rd one just off camera left out on the balcony just to give a little bit of back highlight on her hair to pull out that shine. And then once they sat down, had a beer, had a cocktail, they both had beers. So go in, get some nice storytelling portraits of each of them. And then we went inside to the wall of taps. You know, this place is known for the hundreds of beers and variety that they have. So we did that. So this is the triangle of light indoors. I'm using 3 speed lights, 2 of them behind me. Sometimes they're in front, but they're in groups B, C, and D. Can you spot where the D light is? D light is usually always going to be my separation light, something in the background. So I wanted to pop them a little bit off that wall. So I took a speed light with a super clamp, not a super clamp, but a Justin clamp, 175F, one of these guys here that has the speed light in it, speed light cold shoe in it. So I always have these with me, and I clamped it right onto the wall here with the speed light just to come in from the side, again, giving them a little separation. So this is great. I'm a collector of grip gear. You know, you can pop this light anywhere you want. So I usually always have one of those in my bag. So let's check. Any questions? No? Jim? Michael? Anybody? Good. All right, moving along. Keep an eye on the histogram. Keep an eye on the settings. So I've upped my ISO because we've gone inside. For this lens, it's 24 to 105. Aperture 4 is wide open. And I do have to say our camera itself, mirrorless cameras, are just sharp, 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 especially at wide open. So this is face, head, I should say eye, face, head detection. So it just locks right on, has no problem focusing in low light at all. All right, change the light up a little bit. So this was not 3 lights, but 1. I took 1 speed light in group B, and I put a grid on it, a mag grid on it. You could kind of see the vignetting, the natural vignette of the light. So it draws your attention right to the couple. Now it's less about the wall, but more about the couple. Outside, this is what I really wanted to share with you. If you look really, really close, you can see the telltale signs of the light. Here's the off-camera flash. So again, I took 3 speed lights on a Westcott triple threat, on a light stand, weighed it down, put it, 100 feet, 50 feet, 50 feet, 50, 60 feet down the street with full CTO gels because I wanted that late afternoon warm glow light, right? So this is what we created. There was no sparkle here. There was no warmth in this wall. It was very flat, hazy, California fire smoke we had in the air that night. And the off-camera flashes are just outside of the frame here. And this is with the RF 70 to 200 lens. IS, great lens, still using face detection, right, in continuous focus mode, and it just tracks beautifully. And I do have to say, hats off to Canon. They tied ETTL with the newer cameras, with all the R series that have face, head, eye detection. There's a function, custom function you can activate that ties in the face detection with ETTL. So it's kind of like having flash exposure lock every photograph. It's kind of like taking that pre-flash photograph where you're locking in the exposure on their face. And ETTL, wow, that's a tongue twister, has never been more accurate. Yeah, Jim, I do have to say the place had a lot of good beer. I didn't have any on the job, you know, because I want to make sure that all my pictures are in focus, but it is a place I'll go back to. But for me, this photograph is what I love about off-camera flash. It's picking up the warm light on the trees. It's adding this depth and dimension back here. If we zoom in on the couple, you could see that there's nice specular highlights in her eyes, you know, nice highlights on him. That brings the image to life, right? I'm using ETTL, so if you look at the metadata information, I'm in Aperture. Oh no, I was in manual mode. Sorry, I thought I was in Aperture priority, but auto ISO. So exposure compensation is -1. So with auto ISO and exposure compensation -1, I can lock in my manual settings so my shutter speed isn't drifting anywhere I don't want it to go, too low or too high. So I chose my settings first. And then by still using exposure compensation -1, that's still underexposing my ambient light one stop and leaving flash neutral. So we get that separation, the depth. Because again, if the flash exposure and the ambient light exposure are equal, for me, it just kind of flattens out the image. Jerry Alt, what's happening, my friend? You've been doing a lot of fun stuff in the studio. Have to invite me up there sometime. You got a cool collection of wings going on. We're going to be diagramming this photograph here shortly. I just wanted to run through my thought process first on what's going on. So while the lights are placed, they don't move. I oftentimes move around the subject. I leave the light placed, and then I'll take the light from the front angle, the side angle, the back angle. So I'll give myself time to move around because you get different quality of light. Stop thinking of your off-camera flash as artificial light. Just think of it as another light source and use all the light available to you. This is still TTL. You could see the light coming from down the street, giving that effect of late afternoon sunlight. Now, yes, I purposely wanted it to be hotter, so I didn't adjust the flash to lower. Remember, its ETTL is tied into the face detection. So it's trying to give me an exposure value of 3.5 on her face, yet the light is coming from behind them. So it's coming from behind them and wrapping around, and the ambient light is my fill on her face. Michael's got a question. Hey, Bob, what is the name of the grip you showed earlier? Yeah, where am I at here? So this is a Manfrotto, and it's a 175F, F for flash. They do make these grips by themselves, but this already has the articulated shoe and ball head, mini ball head on here, which is great. And it could clamp onto just about anything. It could screw onto a light stand. It could go onto a light stand. You could put an umbrella through it while it's on a light stand. It's like the Swiss Army knife of grip tools. Very handy thing to have in your bag. Don't leave home without them. So here's a variety of images, right? All with off-camera flash, right? It just complements it. Now here we're going for some obvious lighting, something a little bit different. Found these angel wings, a lot of beautiful murals in Chicago, and this is Jenny Banyes. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right. You can see her logo here. It's at Jenny, JENNYVYAS. Check out her artwork. It's beautiful. She has a few of these angel wings painted around the city. And we were walking down Lake Street, and I said, hey, let's take some photographs here. Now, let me go out of this view, and we're going to go to all the photographs. Let's highlight that one. Here we are. And we'll go to the supporting photographs. So you could see I started off with straight up ambient light, right? No flash. Has a totally different look and feel. So I don't not take that photograph, but then I also put a spin on it and a touch and create mode and texture with lighting. So then we start evolving the light. First I thought, okay, let's get one off-camera flash over to the side with a mag sphere and a full CTO gel and a mag grid and see how that looks. It's okay. Let's keep evolving it, you know, keep going. And how about if I bring that light more forward toward the front, such as this, meaning it's right overhead with me, right? The flash is directly behind me. Here, let me pull up the camera as well. Where'd the camera go? Camera went to sleep. That's what happened. Let me hit that back on. There it is. Good. All right, let's go back to this photograph. And what I was saying before is I have the light stand behind me with the grid, and this time I used 2 grids, no sphere, and a full CTO gel. The 2 grids really narrow that light to focus it. So let's bring that back up. There we go. And then here's the image itself. So now we're starting to cook with fire, right? I believe that this is a much more interesting photograph for me. So it's just fun. Let me just check on the questions here. Michael, love seeing your progression of images in the Flash Edition. Yeah, sure. You know, it's fun. Engagement sessions are really a good time to play and to have fun, because when it comes wedding day, we're such a slave to the timeline that we don't often get the chance to break out and have fun. You got to be dialed in, because our wedding day is not a photo shoot, and you don't want to make the day run late because you have all these other vendors depending upon it. So this is the time to play, right? Here we go, changing up the angles. And then we'll get to the photograph that we're going to diagram. So here's the image. So for this photograph, all I really did was put one mag grid, one full CTO mag gel, and one mag sphere to kind of give us some diffusion, but yet narrowed the medium of light. And I asked the guy to hold the light down low, and boom, did it in TTL. First exposure in ETTL tried to illuminate the whole wall at Aperture 4. So I quickly had to drop into manual mode, went somewhere around an 1/8 or a 16th power, and I'm maxing out the shutter speed, lowering the ISO, so it's 100 ISO, 200th of a second on the shutter speed, Aperture 4, and we've lost all the ambient light. So now it's 100% the light. We're getting a nice reflectance off of the concrete wall, so it's bouncing back as well. So with that, let's jump over to camera 2, and we'll start diagramming that light. So we're going to go to the camera. All right, here we go. So if you got any questions, let's pop them into the feed. But what we're going to do is actually diagram where everything is at for this photograph. So we're going to start with the basic information, our camera, right? So our camera's here. And this is an EOS R5 with eye detect active. Now in this instance, it didn't see their eye, so it picked up their face, right? So it went right to their faces right here. Worked great. I triggered the light using the Speedlight transmitter. the STE3. Now remember, at first I tried ETTL, and ETTL was trying to illuminate the entire thing. So the guy is actually holding the speed light right here, and this is a 600 EXRT emitting the light. Now this has a mag sphere, CTO gel, and grid, right? Manual flash output, one-eighth power, right? So it's wirelessly communicating the fact, and we're underexposing all of the ambient light. So the ISO is 100, aperture 4, and the shutter is 1/100th. Now again, I took a frame of this first at these settings without the flash to make sure I had minimal ambient light to create this effect. So this is still plenty of light left. This is like 6:30. I think at that time the sun was still setting at about 7:45. So we still had plenty of ambient light in the area, but I wanted to minimize that and really take control. This is a really simple lighting setup. Now I had him bounce the light at the wall instead of pointing toward the camera, because I wanted their images to be somewhat silhouetted to pull out and mimic the tones and the looks of the wings. Now I tried this cool toned, meaning no CTO, and just let it all go blue, but I'm more drawn to warm photographs. So I chose to go with, this is CTO gel, and this was at 5,800 degrees Kelvin white balance. Really, really, really simple. This was a lot simpler to light and to illuminate than it was to have the 3 speed lights down the street acting as one to mimic late afternoon sunlight. But it's all the same tools. So the most often used gel for me is a CTO gel, both for color correcting and for creating warm tones. Now you could mix and match that in reverse color, reverse gel, all those sets of things, right? You could get really super creative, and we could discuss all that. So let's jump over here, see if there's any questions. Let's see. Nico, hey, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Nick was wondering where you had the 600 EXRT. Yep, it was behind the subject, this time pointing at the wall. Instead of backlighting them, we're kind of silhouetting them. But I wanted to create kind of a narrow spotlight effect, so we used the grid. Yet I still wanted some diffusion, meaning I didn't want that circle to be hard and tight. So by adding the mag sphere, it softens that edge of the photograph. Question, did you change the K-in camera in post, and why? You know, I'm old school. I was a photojournalist for years. I've been edited by picture editors. I've photographed for Time magazine. I can't get on the phone and say, hey, imagine if it looked like this, right? So my discipline is to always, as I see it in my mind's eye, I need to capture it. So I don't photograph everything in auto white balance. While I do photograph in RAW, I don't use that as a crutch. So the JPEG preview you see on the back of the camera, you can use to instantly share with the person. So this is what was coming out of the camera, and I was able to Wi-Fi it right from my camera to my phone and share it with the couple, and you know, they immediately love it. There was no processing really to do. I mean, yes, Dawn did clean up the sidewalk, cigarette butts, make sure everybody looks their best. You know, I'm the front end, and Dawn takes that vision and complements it and finishes it and makes our photographs sing on the back end. So yeah, I don't try and rely on shifting colors in post. Once in a while I'll do that, but not very often at all. But good question. So if, you guys don't have any other questions on that, remember, let me pull this up. You could register for a live lighting demo seminar this Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And then if you want more information, we're going to be putting on a master class, which is going to be a 5-week class, meeting once a week for 2.5 hours. I'm going to give you a homework assignment. We're going to start off simple, and then we're going to evolve into finally the triangle of light for kind of like the final graduation of the class. And that will be a paid master class through Unique Photo. And you can find all this information by going to uniquephoto.com and clicking on Unique University. All right, so let's see if there's any other questions here. No questions? Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining. If you do think of any other questions, feel free to drop them in the feed, right? If not, hope to see you guys on Saturday. I will put the link in the notes in Facebook. So thanks again for joining.